Hello friends, and welcome back to Random Hearts and welcome to the kitchen. Tonight I am going to be making a side dish to go along with a meatloaf. Now I have shared my meatloaf recipe before and I will link that up in the cards if you'd like to go watch that now. But I thought this was a perfect segue into what I'd like to do on the channel for the next several days. Over the course of the next week, I would like to share 2 to 3 more of the side dishes that we intermix between our holiday meals. And tonight I am going to be making one of those dishes, which is nearly synonymous with the turkey that sits on the Thanksgiving dinner table, and that is mashed potatoes. Now, because I am making mashed potatoes tonight, and I have a meatloaf that does not have a gravy, I am going to zhuzh up those mashed potatoes a little and turn them from ordinary mashed potatoes into a loaded mashed potato. That way there is no need for the gravy and they will have plenty of flavor. You will get both recipes and you can choose which one fits your menu the best. Then over the course of the next few days, I will be sharing a few more of those side dishes that we intermix between our holiday meals, and hopefully something will speak to you and you will find a recipe that you can add to your menu. But let's get started with these mashed potatoes. We're going to begin by peeling some potatoes. For this recipe, you are going to need approximately 2.5 pounds of russet potatoes, and today I am using some smaller potatoes, so I did need quite a few. In fact, that is not 2.5 pounds sitting in the sink there. I do have another bag of potatoes on the counter that you cannot see. These were in my crisper drawer, and yes, I know that's not the ideal location for their storage, but I do not have a location that is cool, dry, and dark in my kitchen. So to make them accessible, they end up in the refrigerator. And a potato that is stored in the refrigerator for too long just ends up a little starchier and their skin has a little bit of issues to it. So I am going to go ahead and peel all those skins off, clean up any spots that might not be pristine. And honestly, a mashed potato recipe is an awesome place to use a potato that is having some issues, because you can cut those bad parts out and save the good parts. You are not losing on too much of the potato. You can see here that I am dicing these up, trying to make them as uniform as possible. And when I cut a potato, I typically cut it into slices first, and then into thick strips, and then I dice those thick strips. You'll see that right here. Depends on how big the potato is, but these were kind of small, so I just did 3 slices and then 3 strips. And I'm just going to get these into the pan. You want to make sure you're doing a uniform cut on these, because if you do not, they will cook at different rates, and that is what leads to a lumpy potato. And lumpy mashed potatoes are not my favorite, so I like a very creamy potato. And we'll get these into the pot here, add some water, and then get them to the stove. So I've got my oven going right now, and I've got that at 375 for my meatloaf. But the potatoes have already been diced. We have kept those fairly uniform so that they'll cook evenly. I've got them in their big stock pot with just enough water to barely cover them. No salt, nothing else in the water, just the water. I'm going to turn those on medium heat, and I'm going to bring those to a boil. I want them to come to a boil. Now, potatoes are notorious for boiling over. So as soon as they come to a boil, I'm going to bring that temperature down to a low simmer, and I'm going to watch and make sure they don't boil over by lifting the lid every once in a while or propping the lid like this. We'll cook those for about 15 minutes or until they are tender. We'll come back to them after they begin boiling. So as this gets closer and closer to a boil, you can see that I've almost got a boil here. I want to be very careful that this does not boil over. So I'm keeping that at medium heat, and I'm going to lift that lid ever so slightly and kind of keep an eye on it. As it comes to a boil, I'm going to reduce that temperature. All right, so the potatoes now have been boiling. I did reduce their heat, and they've been boiling now for about 15 minutes. And now I want to do a little check on them. I am going to use a paring knife. Other people use forks, but I like the paring knife because it can just stab into it, and I can feel if it's tender enough for what I am looking for. And these are still a little bit, they give a little bit, so I want to let them go just a few more minutes longer, and then we'll drain these. I have my potatoes now in my mixing bowl here. This is typically how I do my mashed potatoes. You can use a hand mixer or you can mash them with a tool. I am going to be adding about 1/4 cup of butter directly to this and about 1/2 cup of half and half. Sometimes I will use whole milk, but tonight I have some half and half, so I thought I would use that. And we're going to put this lid on. It is very hot and very steamy, and we're going to go ahead and mash these. Now I'm going to take the lid off so you can see what this is looking like. I may need to scrape down the sides a little. And I think I will do that. I also want to add a little bit of salt and pepper to this. And the texture looks really good right now for this. If I think it is not moist enough and I need a little more of the cream or the half and half or the milk, whichever one I am using, I will add that at this point. But mine seems to be good tonight, so I think that 1/2 cup was pretty good. We're going to add some pepper to this, and I want to be pretty generous with the pepper. We're also going to add some salt. Now my butter had salt in it, so I don't want to get too crazy with this just in case. And if you are serving this with gravy, definitely be careful on the amount of salt because you don't want to over salt these at this point. We're going to go ahead and start that back up. And I've got a little bit on the center of my drive shaft here. I need to take it down, but that is looking really good. The texture is just perfect. So we'll go ahead and mix those one last time, and then I'm going to transfer them back into that pan. Now this is a traditional mashed potato right here. This is what you would want if you were serving it with gravy. But we are not serving it with gravy tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and take these off and transfer them back to the pan. So these are our traditional mashed potatoes right here. Typically you just put these in a bowl, serve them with some gravy, but tonight because we do not have the gravy, we just have this meatloaf, I'm going to add an extra 1/4 cup of butter directly to these. I am going to turn the heat up just a little on this. I have it on low right now, but I think I'm going to put, hell no, I'm going to leave it at low. That way this can just melt up. I have some pre-cooked bacon here. This is approximately 3 strips of pre-cooked bacon. It has been chopped, and that is going to go into here as well. Then I'm going to put in approximately 1 cup of medium shredded cheddar cheese and make a big mess all over my kitchen. And approximately a 1/2 cup of sour cream. I'm going to get this all mixed together. So we'll mix this all in, make sure that everything is warmed up and melting. I do still have the stove on a low temp just to aid in all those cold things that were added, like the bacon and the butter. The cheese needs to kind of melt up just a little here. And while that is warming up, I'm going to go ahead and add some chives. Now these are chives from my own garden that I dehydrated this year. And I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons. It seems like a lot, but I think it'll be a pretty good amount. And we're just going to mix those in and help those to rehydrate in our potato mixture. You'll see that the cheese is starting to melt. We've got a good texture here. And this should taste just like a loaded baked potato, but in mashed form. Butter is almost completely melted. And that's everything, my friends. Let's get this plated. Well, friends, that's going to do it for us tonight. We were able to make that side dish of mashed potatoes and turn them into loaded mashed potatoes for our dinner tonight. It will be a perfect complement with our meatloaf, and I hope that if you have liked this video, you will give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments at all, please leave those in the comment section down below. And keep your eyes and ears peeled, because in the next couple of days, I am hoping by tomorrow that I have another video for you with another side dish. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss that video. But we hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.